In my last year of high school, my parents pressured me into getting a job to save money before I moved to college. I knew they couldn't offer me much once I left, so I didn't really have much choice. But with school still hanging around my neck, I wouldn't get a job that required real work. Instead, I applied for a part-time position as an elf in the local mall, backing up the
Sounds
visiting
fun.
Santa Claus. I figured it couldn't be any harder than smiling and helping kids up and down from Santa's lap, and ushering away the occasional temper tantrum, of course. I got the job without any trouble, and initially, my hopes were high. The man who'd been hired to play Santa Claus really did look like the St. Nicholas himself. He didn't need one of those cheesy fake beards. His genuine facial hair was spot on. Plus, the fluffy suit of red and white looked like it had been tailor-made specifically for him. It was still early in the morning when I walked in on my first day. The mall wasn't even open yet, so I thought I should introduce myself before the day began. Good morning, sir. I'm the new helper elf. Oh, good. Fresh meat. Make a good impression and get me some coffee, dear boy. The way he spoke threw me off. He sounded like Santa, but he didn't say the things you'd expect Santa to say, or in the way Santa would. I glanced around idly to the other elves, meeting their intense stares. One of them looked at me with wide eyes and said, "Get the freaking coffee, dimwit." I heeded the urgency in his voice and rushed off to the food court. I didn't even know where the break room was, so I had to pay for a cup out of pocket from a restaurant, which was still opening up. When I got back, the elf that spoke to me before was knelt below Santa's chair, polishing his boots. It was a really strange sight, and it certainly wasn't in her job description. Still, I didn't want to intervene, so I did my best to ignore it as I handed Santa his coffee. See this here, dear boy? This is what happens when you speak out of line. Elves need to respect Santa, and of course his beautiful reindeer. Got it? Yes, sir. You mean, yes, Santa. Right, I'm sorry, Santa. At that point, I could understand why he was calling us dear boys and girls. He had a strange obsession with reindeer, so I assumed the pun was being said intentionally. I began having serious doubts about the job. However,
Obviously,
as soon
I
as the
would.
mall opened up and kids started lining up to meet us, things got easier. That's when Santa finally got into character, and for the duration of the business hours, he was the jolly man he was supposed to be. Thankfully, my shifts ended before Santa's, so I didn't have to deal with him during close. For the first couple weeks, every day was more or less the same. Every evening, I'd get home depressed, wondering how such a jerk could be Santa Claus. And every morning, I'd return to be slave to his beck and call. Over time, I found a certain urge of defiance building up inside of me every time I heard him order us around. Always, dear boy, do this, dear girl, do that, like we were his servants, as if we were dear to his heart in any way. One morning, I went in with a scowl on my face from all the pent-up frustration, and that Santa poser was right on top of me for it. Hey, you! You're always leaving early and weaseling out of cleaning. Vacuum the stage, because somebody did a lousy job last night. By the time I got back with the vacuum, he had another order for me. You boy, go get me some fresh meat from the food court. Okay, sir, just as soon as I finish cleaning. Do it now! Do you want to learn what it's like to be one of my reindeer? They're not even open yet, old man! Give me a minute! I clammed up, but I'd already let slip enough to piss him off. The other elves stared on in fear. Dear boy, I'm gonna rip your stupid elf ears off and make them my earmuffs! Leave me alone or I'm calling the cops! He lunged at me with sudden speed, but he was caught and held back by the other elves, thrashing and screaming. Oh! He eventually caved in and exited the mall. After that, the only thing left was explaining to the public why Santa had disappeared. We didn't mind. A whole mall full of kids bawling from disappointment was easy compared to dealing with that jerk. We improvised with the picture setup and carried out work for the rest of the day. Unfortunately, things took a sour turn when I got off. I was walking through the parking lot to get to my bus stop
He's out there,
when I
isn't he?
saw a Christmas stocking cap fluttering behind a dumpster. I could tell there was someone behind there. I crept up and looked over the edge, and saw the mall Santa eating the mangled corpse of a deer.
This is the darkest thing I've ever seen so far.
He looked up at me with blood streaming from his mouth and said, "Dear boy, would you like some venison?" What the hell are you doing? What? Can't you see why I call you stupid elves my dear boys and girls now? I ran away as fast as I could, traveling the extra few blocks down the road to wait anxiously for the next bus. When I finally got home, I stumbled in, shaking, and fell into my bed. For the next few days, I didn't leave the house. I quit that job at the mall and started applying elsewhere. I didn't sleep well. The image of raw venison between Santa's teeth flashed before me in the dark. By the time Christmas rolled around, I'd slipped back into my old lazy habits like a coping mechanism. Hey, son, we're going to the store to get some dinner. You want anything? Pizza? Fried chicken? Sure, Dad. How about venison?
That's dark. Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Venison of all things, he says. Ugh.
Venison? Oh man.